Welcome to The Lumber Word, where industry veterans Matt Beamer, Greg Riley, and Ashley Buckholt dissect the world of commodity lumber each week. We bring you up-to-date insights on supply, demand, and market trends, sharing our trading expertise to benefit everyone in the supply chain. Join us for informative and entertaining discussions that guarantee to make you wiser about all things lumber.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode, number 75, recorded on May 15th, 2024. It's a great day today. May futures expired about 10 minutes ago. We do have a guest joining in a little bit, and I'll have Matt introduce him. That is a futures broker here in Chicago. We're looking forward to that. Interesting week so far, Matt and Greg. As far as lumber goes, it continued to slide. Greg, are you still sticking with the price is going to be higher? 2 months? Now it's 7 weeks from today than it is currently.
I mean, I may go even farther. You know what? When you're in, you're in. It's going to be higher 6 weeks from now. I think it's going to be higher 4 weeks from now.
How much higher?
No, see, that's my thing is I don't know that it's going to be that much higher. I don't know whether it's going to be 10, 20, or 120. I don't know, but it's going to be higher. Let's
real quick. I'm going to let you and Matt kind of recap the week. What I saw, you had futures expiring, a bunch of interesting things going on with EFPs. Mills in the East had full lists. A lot of information coming out about rail strikes, forest fires. Yet the market continued to slide in the face of all that. Print comes out last night. Has anybody
come out with a plague of locusts yet? Because when that happens, that's a buy signal.
Cicadas come out next week.
There you go.
Have you wrapped your trees yet?
No. I'm just gonna let nature take its course.
I gotcha.
We don't have those.
Yeah. So the only positive side I saw was some of the items in Southern Pine have firmed up and are starting to move higher, like 2x4, 2 and better. There are some good signs today where we had secondaries calling us covering shorts yesterday and today in the market. And you can generally, Greg, Matt, how can you tell when somebody's buying from you to cover shorts?
Tell us, oh wise one.
I need it right away.
Yeah, can you get it there today or tomorrow?
Do you have it on the ground?
Do you have it on the ground? Can I get it released today?
Yeah, but a lot of interesting stuff going on. What have you guys seen in the market, Greg, Matt?
Well, I'll go from the western side, and Greg can cover the eastern side. My business is slower this week than last week. I'm negotiating more on things that people want to buy, mainly rail car stuff. The truck business is steady as she goes. That hasn't really changed. It never really does, honestly. But the rail business that I do in the Midwest and the West here is I'm having to try harder this week than I did last week. So I don't know what that means. The prices are unchanged, really. So what I'm selling lumber for in the West is exactly the same as what I would have sold it for on Thursday or Friday. We're not getting a premium or a discount. It just takes more work. That's all. That's kind of how it's going. Our stud business remains to be better than the dimension business. However, as I say that, we've picked up some business this morning on, again, more green Doug fir going to the West Coast. So that's a good sign. I don't know what all of it means, honestly. I just feel like we're in a malaise right now. The market's flat as a pancake in the Western species, and there's no real impetus for people to change their habits. And that's been going on for a while now, right? It's been going on for probably a month and a half.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. The one thing, Greg, I was going to segue this over to you and we were talking offline before we started recording. You can tell when a market is getting near an inflection point when everybody has problems. when everybody wants to cancel orders that are 5 seconds late, or you know what? There was some lint on one of the 2x4s in this unit and we can't take it, right? Or multiple things. And that's generally a good sign because it means the market's starting to clear. People need stuff. People are checking on trucks that are due right away. I kind of feel we're there right now. And it also,
I got a mix on that, Ash. I'm going to take another direction. I'm out on the limb in terms of what I think, but we did get home builder sentiment today, which was down to 45. That's the first decrease since November of last year. And that's driven basically on higher interest rates there's a lot of detail in that in terms of how much discounting is going on, et cetera, et cetera. We got some big news coming tomorrow. We'll have April housing starts. And if we remember, March housing starts were a bit of a disappointment. The forecast is that the April starts will be up above the March number. But we're going to want to watch that really carefully, and we're going to want to watch, what's the dynamic between single family and multifamily. One of our proteges, Ash, the guy that we really, we're really proud of what he's done in the business, and he's done some good stuff. When he listens to this, he'll know that I'm giving him his props. It always had the great saying was that the market needs to stop going down before it goes up. It's brilliant. And as Matt that's kind of where we are here. We have stopped going down. Yeah, there's still some discounts available on some items and some mills. Yes, but they're fewer and farther between. So, in terms of the Eastern market, it's firmed up, but it's not going anywhere, just like Matt says on the Western market. There seems to be, like a kind of a heightened attention to wormholes again. It's kind of come back up, and I think it's more to do with, as you said, Ash, this time in the market than anything else, because most of the producers in the East have already gone through that and are moved on. So it's just that's lumber that's still cycling through the system.
It has to be, right? I mean, I don't think there's no new bug kill being logged, or is this still in
I think there's still some in some places, but by and large, the reports that I've had back from those producers is that they're mostly out of it. Okay. Some are completely out of it, some are mostly out of it, et cetera. In terms of Euro, this is the most interesting thing. First quarter, Euro imports were down from last year, right?
Okay.
And we had the report from Dustin about yellow pine production being down. Where was production up? And I guess I was corrected on this earlier. It wasn't production, it was shipments. Shipments from Canada were up in the first quarter versus the first quarter of last year. They were up 233 million board feet. So why was that? Well, weather was really good in Canada, so production was better than, and also I had reports that the Canadian market wasn't that good. But that increase in Canadian imports more than offset the decrease in European imports. Things that make you go, huh?
It's interesting because we were talking to our mill and a few other people, and I never even thought about this. I didn't realize that the spring breakup that wasn't, if I'm saying this right, wasn't as harsh in Canada. So they were able to cut a fat hog, so to speak. Does that make sense? And they were able to log and be pretty efficient through normal times through historical times that usually you're not that efficient because of mud, freezing, thawing, all that kind of stuff. I sound like a real novice saying that, but it sounds like during a time when they couldn't cut stuff, they were able to cut more. Matt, is that true?
It's a mild winter, yeah. I mean, we had a couple of early freezes back in the dead of Christmas time. But even here in Oregon, it hasn't been cold. It's just been uncomfortable. So up until about a week and a half ago, we hadn't even hit 70 degrees maybe once this year. But all of a sudden, it's in the high 80s. Today it's going to be 80. We're having summer weather now, so we just went from winter to summer. Same thing happened up in Canada, but they didn't really get I think we had one spell up in Babine where it was minus 35, minus 40, and that's it. But one thing that's happening now that we haven't really talked about, and I will talk about just briefly, is the railroad strike. The latest that I've gotten from the rail VP of Transportation sent a note out saying that the Canadian government's probably going to step in and try to mediate a solution because they don't want to have it disrupt. It's a national security thing or whatever they call it to make it so that they can make it their business and not allow the railroad to strike. But what's happening is that they're already doing a walking strike. So we're getting fewer cars, we're getting fewer switches, guys are not showing up to work, and that's just going to go on and on and on. I almost wish that they would just resolve it or not resolve it, just go on strike. But what's happening now, the government's getting involved. They're going to try to fix the problem. In the meantime, the rail service is going to suffer all through Canada. So just be prepared for less shipments coming across the border, whether they announce it or not.
Now, is Pierre Pelliver, was that his name? Is he helping fix this, or
I don't
is
know.
Trudeau doing it?
I think I just think it's the government, the existing government, not the hopeful new government. I don't know much about Pierre, and I know Trudeau's been kind of I don't know, people don't really like him that much, but the people in the government seem to like him.
Yeah.
But the average Canadian doesn't. He's not very popular right now. I saw something. He's got like 38% support or something.
So
Biden would kill for that number.
Oh God, here we go.
Oh, no.
Wind him up.
Let's go back to Euro first. Greg, you mentioned that briefly when you're talking about the shipments and the imports. What we're noticing is, and I think everybody a month ago, and I probably was in this camp too, we were thinking that Euro is just going to keep pounding in over here. I'm noticing a slowdown, and the way I noticed it is people that normally don't called and kind of cleared us out of studs down in the Cape. We don't have another vessel going to the Cape for a long time. We sold some stuff out of Houston today. It doesn't seem like there's that extra tranche of Euro on the ground or coming in. I mean, there was a big vessel in Cape 3 or 4 weeks ago. Market pulled back on 16s, and now it kind of is just sitting there. I mean, Greg, you're pretty good on the Euro side, seeing what's coming in and what isn't. What's your feeling over the summer? Are we going to get more or less Euro coming in?
At the current price levels, there's less coming in. That's going to be the question is like, how much is less, right? We got the number, 165 million board feet less in the first quarter than the first quarter last year. And if you remember, last year it started the year off big, and then it tapered as the year went off. I know, several producers that are shipping at 50% of or less than what they have been shipping. Is that all of them? No. I've said this before. There's going to be less Euro as we go forward in the year than there has been. How much less? That's going to be the harder thing to quantify. The challenge ends up being from the shipping perspective, and we saw this happen last month, is instead of having a vessel that stops in 8 places and drops a little bit of lumber everywhere, they're trying to ship one vessel to one port, and you drop 30 million board feet in a port all of a sudden. And how did Thomas describe that as plop?
Yeah.
When you go plop,
Yeah,
it creates a splash.
Well, there's going to be less production coming from everywhere if you think about it, right? So, I mean, we don't think that the Yellow Pine guys are going to keep running at 250 to 300 FOB mill, and hem fir is 400, give or take. Let's say right now, Doug fir is in the mid 400s. Green Doug fir is probably 400 to 450. Spruce is expired at what? What was the May expiration?
496, 388.
So
that's 380. That's 386 FOB Prince George, and I guarantee you that's a loser. Probably about 7,000 a car. So I just feel like we've been talking about this for a while. You're just, along with less Euro, you'll see a lot less of everything else too, which combined with the traditional Eastern Canadian summer shutdowns, and I just feel like there's just going to be less lumber for us to pick and choose from come 30 to 60 days from now. And it always happens like this, right? Where nobody wants to stick their toe in the water to be the first guy in, but somebody will be at some point. Maybe that day's already happened. I don't know. I remember one time I called up a mill in Canada and bought like 10 or 15 cars at 2x4 16s. I couldn't believe what they were willing to sell them to me for. So I just bought them. I didn't buy them with a plan. I just bought them because they were really, really cheap. This is during another previous era when there was a lot of Euro laying around. This is like 10 or 12 years ago. And then I was talking to a buddy of mine in the business about that trade. It might even been you, actually. It was a wholesale buddy of mine. And I was telling him, oh, yeah, I bought these cars. And he's like, really? Because I bought those too. And then we sat there and talked about it for like a week and a half. And then finally, it took about 2 weeks, but it finally the price of that fiber went up. But sometimes things are just laying there in front of you for a while that like the Euro 2 before 16 price right now, I think is too cheap. And
We agree with you on that.
the price of 2 before 9 footers a couple weeks ago got too cheap. So I as a guy that's willing to take a little bit of risk here and there, I look at those types of things. That's where I want to put my money. I don't want to buy massive amounts of 2 before 3 in the mid to high 400s delivered to the market when I can buy premium lumber not far away from those types of prices, right?
So if you're a builder listening to this right now, a builder up of Minnesota or a builder out in the Northeast or in Texas, and you're like, hey, I'm listening to these guys talking, I'm going to try to lock in some of my pricing, right? The way the curve is set up right now on futures, with every month being a slight premium, I should say more than a slight premium to the current month. We're now in July, and September, I think, what's the basis on September versus July? And
it's like 60.
So I think everybody thinks what should be in their mind and what should be their ask when they go to the person they buy lumber from, whether it's directly from a mill, a broker, their distributor. How should they ask, and what should they expect to hear back from numbers if they want to lock stuff in for 3 months to 6 months, starting 2 months out? So if some people want to lock in for July through the end of the year, I'm guessing they'd probably see a pretty decent premium to today. Does that sound right? What should they be asking for, and what should they be thinking about with numbers right now in here?
I mean, so much depends on the particular situation. Who are you? What does the project look like? What's the actual start date? I mean, there's guys that if they have money in a warehouse, there's opportunities. Hey, I will buy the cash market today, and I'll carry and hold that. And then, how do you figure out what's the premium for Matt or myself or somebody else to sell that for August, September, October through the end of the year delivery versus, you just buy it in the cash market and put it in your warehouse if you're equipped to do that. That's the quote unquote cheapest way. We've been saying for a month, Ashley, 5-6 weeks, is that people that have managed risk, that lumber prices are low, and they probably won't stay low forever. And they've got the bonus recently where OSB prices came down fairly sharply. I was actually shocked to see today in midweek print, OSB printed up. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But I don't trade it every day, so I don't know. We need to get an OSB guru in here to tell us about that.
Yeah, is that the dead cat bounce, the midweek print up a little bit, and then it's going to go down another 50 because there's more production coming on, and the lack of production is what got it driven up in the first place, plus all the contracts and VMIs. So I wonder how that's going to really play out in the long run. But yeah, I mean, Greg, Ashley, to your point, this discussion about carry costs and future risks, you could do a take delivery of May and sell September yesterday for $70.
No, you couldn't get 70, Matt. The best I could get was 60, 59.
By May, sell SEP, or by May, sell July?
No, I was saying
right.
to July.
Yeah,
July.
by May, sell SEP. I was offered 70.
70 to SEP, yeah.
So I don't know that there's been very few of those in my career, right? I mean, there's just not very many times where you can lock in a $70 basis on a 120-day trade.
Just think about what that means to people. $70 basis on a contract is basically almost $1,900. I mean,
think about it this way: it's $8,000 per choo-choo train.
Exactly. It's $8,000. That's, you don't make that kind of margin taking risk on speccing on stuff a lot of times.
Nobody makes $8,000 a car margin unless they're selling like fancy gypsum.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in a reload not long ago, and this guy was showing me this soundproof gypsum, and each unit was $10,000.
Wow.
It's a proprietary, like, patented product.
Could you hear him talk? Can you hear him talking to you while he was on the other side of it?
No. I just was at a reload, and they were unloading this stuff into a warehouse, and he was telling me about it, and I just was like, "You got to be kidding me! How much does a rail car cost? Like $200,000 or something.
Did we get stiffed by our guest today? Did our guest stand us up today?
He might have. He was doing the futures closes with the CME.
I mean,
so
that was like an hour ago.
yeah, well, that happens. I mean, we'll have to get him on next week, but
So
we'll get him
basically,
on.
I agree with you, Greg and Matt. If you can utilize the CME and do it yourself, there's some good margin there. If you learn how to EFP, there's some good opportunity there with people. If you think you're just going to buy at today's prices for 6 months out, probably not. I would guess the premium is anywhere from $50 to $100 on a lot of items. If you want to lock into Southern Yellow Pine, the cheapest thing to do is to buy that and put it on the ground right now. Because if somebody was going to take risk and price that to you, it'd probably be over $100 over the market.
Would you take a job for October shipment on 2 before 2 and better yellow pine at today's prices, or just barely over?
No, that would be an O'Hare trade.
Yeah, that would be like, and then don't come back.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well,
Although
let's
I had
talk
that
real.
deal where, I had the opportunity in the fourth quarter, November, December, for first quarter stuff at the pine prices. And I went, nah, I'm not going to do that. That ended up, would have worked out just fine. Whoever did that, genius.
Well, one thing I've
Wearing
learned,
a lot of risk though, but
one thing I've learned in this industry, if you ask enough people, you'll probably find somebody to take something. Now, they may not be around when it comes time to ship, but generally that happens. Our guest just got back and he said, just a quick note, he's still on the phone and not looking good for this afternoon.
That's fine.
He's
That's
out.
right. On next week.
Let's real quick then follow up on futures. So futures expired today at 12 o'clock. And as we said, May went off and now it's not there anymore. So we don't have to worry about that and talk about all the spreads. Now July's the sexy dance partner for us. So where are we going in July? What's the opportunity and how are we going to relate July to cash now? And why did we why were we so heavy going into this contract with the last day with so many contracts? I think a lot of that was just for EFP.
I mean, you had one big producer that was out there and had a lot of wood, so that's what precipitated it. And you don't know the dynamics. There might have been a guy that had a whole bunch of shorts that held to the last minute and bought them all back this morning. You never know. And honestly, it doesn't really matter. I mean, to your point, Ash, the important thing is now that you have a July contract that is, I don't know, $535, call it, $50 over the current cash market. So What does that mean? Well, that means is if you're a trader out there, you can buy lumber and sell July and have an opportunity to lock in a pretty good margin over the next 60 days, plus or minus slippage.
Interesting that the board is up today. I mean, I can never really predict the day-to-day gyrations, and that's not my job. And I think you'd go crazy.
You'd already be on your own private island.
Well, I just think it's fool's errand. But on a day like today, where you just pointed out that you can go buy some cash lumber pretty cheap and then sell July or September against it, that's just inviting, somebody's going to get smart and sell into that, whether it's a sawmill or a speculator or a distributor. That trade will be made, right? Unless there's something in the works here where we're running out of sellers. And that might also be the case. That does happen after expiration, where it's not uncommon to see like a week or two period after expiration where it just sort of naturally rises because we've run out of sellers. So that's one thing that would have been nice to have this futures opinion. I would have liked to pin his ears back on that one and see what he had to say. But I guess time will tell. Like right now, I'm not willing to make it a one bet or the other. I just feel like that $50 or $60 or $70 basis is attractive, and that the industry should be paying attention to it.
No doubt. So one industry guy I was talking to today, I'm going to put a little plug in for him from StoneX. Alex Mead called me. Good dude. Talk to him all the time. He works with Greg Kuda. They're having their Lumber Risk Academy June 20th to 21st in Nashville, Tennessee. So
is this a paid plug?
Oh yeah.
So it's a great opportunity for people to learn risk management in lumber. If you don't know anything, if you're a seasoned veteran, if you want to reach out to Alex at alex.mead, MEAD at stonex.com. That's STONEX.com. So Good talking today, Alex. That's there's your plug. Yeah, let's
Are we going to do
let's go with
Mary Day dump?
Yeah, because I think there's some good stuff out there right now. Let's who wants to kick it off?
I usually always go last. So you want me to go first?
Well,
Yeah,
it'd be
you
like
go first.
yeah, the first
Switch
will
up
be
here, buddy.
You know, I feel like it's getting boring. I'm going to need to like change things up. You know, keep trying to like add something new. So the one thing that I would say that I would like to find out there is European studs in the Southeast and in the ports have really tightened up quite a bit. And if we're correct in saying there's going to be less coming in over the next 60, 90 days, that's going to continue to tighten up. Undervalued, 2x4 16s, whether you're Western Canadian, Eastern, or European in the ports, they're undervalued and they have to return to some sort of normal number. When that happens, that'll be the question. You know, the dump is still, I mean, lumber prices are all like so low in general, it's getting boring. But the only thing that's worthwhile to dump is old inventory or things that, you know, are odd lot stuff in a place that you're not going to be any longer. If I look at the universe of lumber, there's not an item that I go, oh gosh, that's really overvalued. Oh, that's right. The only thing that's overvalued is CME futures. So if I'm going to sell anything, it's CME futures, because whether it's against my inventory, whether it's against a new buy what's cheap, sell what's expensive, and look over the next 60 to 90 days for the market to go cash to go premium to futures. Boom. Boom. I'm out.
Did you just do all marry, date, and dump in one fell swoop?
Yeah. I just like
that was genius.
Yeah. You just walked through the whole bar and
Holy
everybody's
cow.
confused.
You stole all my thunder.
I mean, you know, I work under that theory. Like, you know, if I can't dazzle you with my brilliance, I will baffle you with my BS.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's made you a lot of money. Good job, Greg. Hey, so I would do my Mary thing is basically what I talked about yesterday. You could do the $70 basis trade with May, take delivery May, or just go buy some cash at the May price and then sell the September contract. I think that's a no-brainer. And those are the types of opportunities that people like us salivate for. And so when I see something like that, you marry it, right? You just don't really think much about it. You just do it. As far as dating, I'm probably more bullish on 2x4 16s and 2x6 16s than I should be, because they don't seem to be going anywhere at the moment. But I am bullish on those, and I'm willing to take a little bit of risk on those. I'm talking about 2 and better or premium. I'm still in the date mode there. And then on the dump, I don't know. It's hard to really dump anything right now. You know, it's maybe 2x12 different items. It's more expensive than everything else. And so if mills are looking at something high value to produce, they'll target 2x12. And so you'll see less 2x4 and 2x6 and 2x10 production because of that. One thing I've noticed here recently is I'm getting a lot of inquiry for 2x10 Western species, and we can't cover most of it. So there's a trading tip for you savvy Eastern guys that might have some 2x10 laying around, but Western 2x10 is a little bit tighter. I think 2x12 will probably get produced more because the values remain high. And yellow pine 2x12, I think, is about in the same boat. If they can get a big enough log, they'll figure out how to make more of it. In a sea of red ink, the mills always look for that 1 or 2 items of high value that they can overproduce, and then they'll screw that up too. But in the meantime, there you go.
Well, 2x10, we got some 2x10 coming on a vessel, right, Greg?
Yep.
So anybody listening, we've got
keep that high and dry though, Ash. We're gonna keep that high and dry.
There you go. So my Mary is pretty simple, and I've been accused of kicking the same item around between marry, date, and dump on a regular basis. And
yeah, right. You're married to it. You're married. You marry it. You date it. You marry
You're
it.
dating and marrying
in like a week.
I'm thinking that may be a bipolarity problem, but or maybe OCD or
all the above.
All
the
above.
D's.
So I'm thinking 2x4 16s selling July against it, or 2x4 16s Euro and selling September against it. I like it. We've started saying no to people bidding us really cheap on 2x4 16s because, Matt, I agree with you. They run the
yes
game.
to Matt, though.
They run the gamut, and you know what? They're cheap. And if you sell July against them right now, and this is not we're not telling people to do this. This is purely a guess on our part, and we could be wrong. But what should you make on 2x4 16s between now and selling July against them if it just returned to a historical basis?
Well, we just came from a level of 620 FOB Houston about 2 months ago because I sold some. I know what I sold. Like the high sale I have was like 660 delivered to some yard in the Houston, Texas area, and now that has fallen by over $100. And so if it just went back halfway, if it went up to like 580, 590 level Texas, you would pick up 50 to 60 just on the equity of that item on a 1-for-1 basis, plus the 40 or 50 or 60 that you're able to lock in on your hedge. So you should be making between $80 and $100.
I mean, I have a trade on. I mean, and we're offering in the Cape late June, early July arrival. It's July plus 25.
So the EFP is July plus 25. Yeah, in the Cape.
July. So that's 560 for end of June, early July arrival.
My date is, and I'm dating it because I don't know anything about it, nor do I talk to many of the mills that produce it anymore.
You did a deep dive on to get it.
Yeah, well, but I mean, I'm observing the trade happening in real time where I'm sitting. 2x4 Southern Yellow Pine #1 and #2 brought up to the north with a hedge on it, and I think that'll work if we could only figure out why mills won't paper wrap lumber anymore. You know how much they want to paper wrap lumber now, Matt?
$20.
Yeah, $20 to $22 a thousand. If you can get them to do it, they usually say no. They want to put a large condom around the car anyway and ship it up to Chicago.
That's funny.
So that's
I haven't heard that term for a while.
My dump is anybody in my business relationship world is making my life harder right now. And that's the people that call me and say that your truck is 5 minutes late. I want to cancel it on you. Or you sent me something with a speck of dust on it and I can't use it. Anybody that is giving me market claims in a market that won't put their big boy pants on.
So you're firing customers. I need to look at your customer list. I'm not sure it's deep enough for you to do that.
Greg, are you hiring? Sign on as a consultant.
I was just kind of joking about that, but I get fired up sometimes. And Greg's great because he walks and goes, just relax and tell the person that they'll get it at this time. And I do, and that everything's generally fine. So yeah, that's all good there. That's all I've got today, my friends. We did go 36 minutes. We thought we would go under 30, but we were having.
Who do we have? Don't we have somebody already scheduled for next week now? Do we
I have to confirm it. I have to confirm it to make sure we got her on next week. I'll make sure I follow up on that. Yeah, guys, it's time to go back and strap the trading helmets on.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Lumber Word. The Lumber Word podcast is dedicated to engaging conversations about the lumber industry, including trading ideas, market trends, and evaluations of overvalued and undervalued assets. We wish to emphasize that the discussions and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely for informational and entertainment purposes. They should not be considered as financial or investment advice. We encourage our listeners to make their own financial decisions, taking into account their unique circumstances and financial goals, and to seek professional financial advice if necessary.